Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our virtual CU Anschutz Wellness Series, Happy and Healthy Hour. We're thrilled that you're taking time out of your day to connect with the CU Anschutz alum community and focus on your wellness. I'm Dr. Marnie McKercher, and I've come to introduce tonight's speaker as a member of the CU College of Nursing Alumni Board. Thanks, Kat. I'm a nursing administrator from Aurora Public School District, which just happens to encircle the Anschutz campus. My official work title is Lead School Nurse Consultant. You can see that on the slide. And I am also an adjunct clinical faculty member for the CU College of Nursing. For those of you attending your first Happy and Healthy Hour, this series was developed to provide practical tips to support your self-care in health as health professionals. This series has covered topics from sleep health to the positive effects of animal connections to burnout in healthcare professionals. And please don't hesitate to type questions for our speaker tonight in the chat box, and we'll give Kat a chance to answer those questions at the end of the presentation. Next slide. Today, we bring our campus expertise on the topic that affects all of us, a perspective shift. This evening, Kat Golden will provide us with a motivational talk and utilize a teaching tool that will inspire us to find the good in any situation. She will also talk about how we can learn to find happiness without your situation changing. I have the privilege to introduce tonight's speaker, Kat Golden. Kat's passion for helping nurses find the confidence they need to create their own schedules, take a chance on their dreams, and maintain self-care sparked her movement, Nurses Inspire Nurses. She runs the Nurses Inspire Nurses shop and hosts monthly events and coffee talks, as well as provides free resources to support nurses no matter their location. Kat has shipped thousands of Nurses Inspire Nurses merchandise out to nurses across the US, Canada, Europe, and Australia, and built a 7-figure business in under 2 years. She is based in Metro Detroit, where she manages a team of 8 and oversees operations at the Nurses Inspire Nurses Warehouse. Twice a year, Kat takes nurses through her signature 90-day mentorship program, the Leap, Land, Live method, to help them look inside themselves and uncover what they're truly passionate about. She believes that if nurses embrace their true beings, they will uncover their purpose and be able to live a life they're obsessed with. Kat's motto is Leap, Land, Live. Leap, take a chance on yourself. Land confidently on your own 2 feet, and live a life by your design. So without any further delay, please take it away, Kat.
Thanks, Marnie. Thank you guys so much for having me. I am so excited to be here and chat with all of you tonight. Thank you for spending time with me. I do not take it lightly. I so appreciate it. So thank you. I cannot see the chat in here, so I'm hoping that you guys know how to use the chat. So I hope you can utilize the chat. Marnie, will you give me a thumbs up if you can see the chat? I just want to make sure that we can.
It's a Q&A box. Okay. So folks, go ahead to the Q&A box if you have questions and put it in, and Kat, I'll keep track of that for you.
Okay, perfect. So if you guys have any questions while I'm talking, use that. All right, so we're going to talk about a perspective shift. It's so important in 2020. I know we're all feeling some kind of way and going through a thing. It's 2020. Let me see here. Shared window to the front. I think I'm having issues with sharing. Let me see. Can you guys see that? Marnie, will you let me know?
I can see it, Kat.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, so my name is Kat Golden. I'm a nurse, I'm an entrepreneur, and again, I'm so grateful to be here with you guys. I graduated from the University of Colorado College of Nursing right here in 2012. So we're gonna chat. I'm gonna tell you guys a little bit about my story. We're gonna go on a journey, and then we're gonna talk about having a perspective shift. And my goal for us tonight is that you feel inspired but more importantly, that you walk away with a tangible tool to take action, because I want you to be inspired. But if you don't take action, it doesn't do us any good, right? So inspiration and action is my goal for us tonight. And I hope we have some fun too. Okay, let's get this party started. I like to have a good time. But first, I have a little bit of a confession. You guys are going to find out really quick. I'm really honest. So we're going to start with a confession. I'm going to give you all the good stuff first. So I was a pediatric nurse. I worked in peds for 6 years. I was a CNA at Children's Hospital of Colorado before that. And you guys, I could never remember immunization schedules, when babies were allowed to eat certain foods, much less when kids are allowed to stay home alone, get a cell phone, like go to the mall by themselves. I can never remember those things. I'm not a parent yet, so I do not know those things. Thank God for Google. But I tell you this, and I'm giving you all the good stuff up front with what we're going to talk about tonight. But the moral of this story is that we can't let not knowing step 100 stop us from taking step 1. And I think about when I was in nursing school, I actually loved my OB rotation. And where's my nursing friends at? Like in OB, whether you're an OB nurse or not, or a provider, whatever discipline you come from, the new dads, right? I mean, the new moms, but also the new dads. They don't know how to hold the babies. I taught so many dads how to change a diaper, right? And when you see those first time parents, they know nothing. And they're not asking the question, like, what kindergarten is my kid going to go to, right? Or like, where are they going to take driver's ed? Yeah, maybe those thoughts come up or in the back of their mind, but you're not asking that day one. So what do day one, right? You're just like, okay, first of all, you have to have the baby. Like that's a whole other mystery. So you have the baby, and then it's like, okay, I just have to make it to the first doctor's appointment, right? So again, I already told you guys, I can't remember the exact timeline, but say it's in like 3 to 4 days, whatever it is, they like get their papers like, okay, 3 to 4 days, right? Like I just have to make it 3 to 4 days. So then they go to the first doctor's appointment, right? And then what happens? Weigh the baby. Okay. Now we're going to do this. Maybe it's in a month or whenever the next appointment is. Okay, I can make it a month. Again, you're not worried about the kid getting a cell phone at that appointment, right? Right. But do we not do that in our own lives? We are worried about step 200. What happens when I went to nursing school? Like, what kind of nurse do you want to be? What are you going to do? Are you going to go to grad school? It's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get it through the skills lab, like putting deodorant on, trying not to drop my toothpick on the floor. We do this all the time. And now more than ever, we are so concerned with step 100 and what the future holds. And we're really missing step 1 and step 2. And what I want to share with you guys tonight is a little bit of my story and how I've been able to take a lot of different actions and really small actions that have led me down an amazing magical path, and how you can do the same. And also how we can shift our perspective to really focus on that, to just take that step 1 and not worry about step 100. I know I can't see you guys, but I know I cannot be the only one that does that. So I've taken so many first steps. It is truly my key to success. And my prayer is that you find yourself in my story. Our stories, I'm sure, will look very different, or maybe they will look similar, but I hope you can find yourself in my story. So I'm going to show you the importance of taking a lot of little tiny actions. So one of the very first actions I took was when I was in 3rd grade, and I decided I wanted to go to space camp. You guys will find out very quickly, I'm a hustler. I've always been, I'm sure I always will be. And this is going to date me a little bit, but there was a VHS movie I would watch. I like wore out the VHS tape. I don't know if anyone has seen that. You'll have to let me know. But there was a space camp VHS movie, and I was obsessed with it. And I told my parents I was going to go to space camp in Florida. I lived in Detroit. There was space camp in Florida. My dad's like, you're absolutely not going to space camp. And I was like, yes, I'm going to space camp. And he was like, well, if you pay your own way, you can go to space camp. And so you guys will find out, I have this really naive quality where it just doesn't dawn on me that things don't work out. And it's a blessing and a curse. But I've had this ever since I was a little girl. And so take the first step. I was like, well, in Michigan, we can return pop cans for 10 cents. So I can return some pop cans, start saving some money. Took the first step. My uncles drank a lot of beer. I returned a lot of pop cans. I started selling candy bars door to door in the neighborhood at my church. When my parents would take me to church, I was just like hustling at church. I put a bag on my door. I put a sign, send cat to space camp, put in $1. I was collecting donations. You guys, I of course saved enough money to go to space camp. And I got there and I found out I didn't even like science. I was like, this is not for me. My dad did take me. I didn't even end up really liking it. But I took the first step. And over the course of my teenage years, I was the same, always hustling, always taking first steps, always taking messy action. And I ended up getting a business degree because, like I mentioned, I didn't love science. And so I was like, I'm going to business school. It just makes the most sense. So I went to business school and I graduated early. And then when I was barely 22, I moved out to Colorado. I had a friend that I went to business school with that had moved to Denver. And so I went to visit her, ended up deciding to go back to nursing school because I worked at the Denver Rescue Mission. I was doing statistics, reporting. I worked for the vice president as his assistant. I loved the company. I loved helping people. I was just bored sitting behind a desk. So I met my best friend there. She had a daughter that was born with spina bifida. And so we both decided to go back to nursing school to take care of her. You guys, I was so nervous to go to nursing school. I already mentioned I don't love science, but my brother, pictured here, went to nursing school. And I was like, if he can go to nursing school and graduate, I can most definitely go to nursing school and graduate. So I got a job as a CNA, like I mentioned, at Children's Hospital Colorado, just to see if I could do it. And I could do that. So I decided to go to nursing school, make it work. It was my first step. And guys, everything was going really great for me. I met a lot of amazing people, some of which who are probably on this call. And somehow I will say I was not a straight A student, but I made it through nursing school and things were going pretty well for me until they weren't. So over the course of the time that I had moved and started nursing school and then started working as a new grad at Children's Hospital Colorado, I ended up getting divorced. And so this was a really big turning point in my life, which is a whole other topic for another day about my divorce. But it was the first time where I felt like I had done everything right and things didn't go how I planned. And I'm sure that I am not the only one that this has happened to, right? And we're experiencing things now that are not going like we planned. And that is very, very, very difficult. And so I was 28 and I truly thought my life was over. And people that know me now cannot fathom that I was lacking in confidence or that I was so devastated or that I was having such a hard time. I was a very different person back then, but I truly felt like my life was over and I didn't know what to do. And so my brother, who I had mentioned, was also a nurse, was living in downtown Chicago, working. He was living his best life. And when I finally told my family what was going on, I was very embarrassed. I felt like I had failed. I didn't know what to do. And my brother told me that he was going to move to Colorado to live with me. And it truly was one of the greatest gifts that anyone has ever given me. And this was just another little action forward. It was a messy action. It was just taking a step forward. We got an apartment. I got the master. He got a parking spot and we called it a day. And then he gave me another gift. This one looked a little bit different. Tinder. Put Tinder on my phone. And I hadn't been out in a long time. My brother was like, you got to get out. He was probably annoyed with me. And this is what I want to bring attention to. Sometimes the actions that we take do not look like what we think. They're not these. I thought I was going to grow old with someone. I did not expect that I didn't even know what Tinder was. Like my brother was telling me about it. And this was what, 8 years ago. So it was fairly new, I think, at that time. I was like, you want me to do what? But I knew I had to get out. So what did I do? I just took one step forward. And a really cool thing happened when we take action, I always say action breeds clarity and confidence. And Tinder led me to Michael, my friend Michael. He's actually just got married to someone else. We're still friends to this day. We never ended up dating, but we became really good friends. And it opened me up to a whole new world of opportunities. And then I took another action and another first step, and I tried out a new gym. And I'll never forget, Michael told me, hey, this new gym by me opened up. I think you should really try it. I was like, ew, are you trying to tell me to go to the gym? Like, that is rude. I'm like, what are you trying to say? He's like, I don't know. I just have this feeling like it reminds me of you. I think you should try it. Guys, telling you, take action always. So I'm like, okay, step in the door. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to this gym. It was Pearl Street Fitness. It was very close. I lived off of like Broadway and Alameda. It was right down the street. I was like, whatever, I'll just go. I was so nervous to go into this gym. I put a full face of makeup on to go to the gym. Like, who does that, right? Oh, I did, because I was so nervous. And I will never forget. I take the first step, right? I'm about taking the first step. I walk in the door. This lady's like, oh, honey, you're going to sweat those eyebrows off in 5 minutes. I was like, woo! I was so mortified. Thank God I stayed. I stayed. And what happened was I took another step and I went back, and I kept going back after that free week. And I really started to get confidence in myself. They always had a saying at the gym, I'll never forget, I can, I will. And I started telling myself that with my physical body, I can do this. I will do this. I will keep moving forward. And then what happened was something really magical. And I know that you guys probably know about neuroplasticity and the power of changing your brain cells and the way that your neurons fire. But I started telling myself, I can, I will, outside of that gym. And my life was actually beginning to change. And I realized, like, this is crazy. I can actually become a different person. And so I was feeling better. And I told you guys, it just doesn't dawn on me that things don't work out. I'm a little bit naive. I know that about myself. And the gym owner's wife, I will never forget, she asked me to do a mindset program. And I'm like, didn't ask too many questions, but I was like, mindset program. And I was like, I don't know. Like, what is it? Why do I need it? But my 30th birthday was approaching, and it just seemed like kind of the right thing to do. Like, new decade, I wanted to feel great. I was feeling really good physically. And I said yes to the program. I don't remember what it cost, and I don't remember much about it except one really important thing. And I said yes to the mindset program. And there was a part in the program where we had to ask someone that we really trusted and that we really valued their opinion for feedback on our life. And so I asked my best friend, who I mentioned, and she said, I have to email you. I'm like, what? She's like, I'll email you. I'm thinking, oh God, like, it's going to be bad. It's in an email. I'll never forget this email. What she said was, hold on. First, I want to bring attention to, I took another step. I could have also signed up for the program and then been like, whatever. It is very hard to ask someone for feedback about your life, but I was so committed. And I hope that you see through all these things I'm saying, all these different actions, that they're very different, right? And some are hard and some were easier, but I just kept going and just kept taking action. So, email. In the email, she said, my dad always taught me that bad things are going to happen. You're going to get a flat tire. Your car's going to run out of gas. You can probably help that one. Your dog's going to get sick. You're going to miss your alarm. You're going to show up late for work. There's so many things that are going to happen that are outside of your control. And like, have we not experienced that this year, right? So much out of our control. But she's like, you live every day in a state of emergency. And so once something happens, you're completely thrown off course because you're already at such a high state of emergency. And I was like, damn, you're right. I do live like that. So take another action. How do I change that? I was so grateful for her feedback, and it really got me thinking, okay, how do I change that? So I started a morning routine. I started not getting on my phone first thing in the morning, really, really committing to working on my mindset. I'd already seen some changes. So what happened was over the course of the next several years. My friend Michael, again, he's like, I think you should start a blog. You have a lot of great things to say. You're really creative. It'd be fun. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to start this blog. I ended up getting really fit and really getting into fitness, as many people in Colorado are so fit versus where I come from in Michigan. So it was just very easy. And my life was going really good. And it was it was headed down a completely different path. It was amazing from my divorce and feeling at such a low point in my life. So something happened when I turned 30. And I truly don't know what it was, except I would say it was probably one of the first times that I really, really trusted my intuition. Something inside of me just felt like it was time to move back to Detroit. And I still to this day don't really know what it was. I was even dating someone at the time, and I was like, I'm moving back to Detroit. It is just right. And so my brother and I had lived together for, I think it was, I was almost 31 when I moved. We lived together for about 3 years. He had always wanted to do travel nursing, and he is not so action oriented. I have to kind of give him a little push. And I was like, you need to do travel nursing. You've always wanted to do it. You just need to do it. I'm moving back to Detroit. It's your time. And so my brother was like, you should do travel nursing. And I'm like, what? He's like, you haven't lived in Michigan in almost 10 years. You were never a nurse there. You don't know where you want to work. You should do travel nursing. So again, I thinking he really wanted a referral bonus, but my naive self was like, yeah, that's a great idea. So I worked with his recruiter. I ended up getting a travel nursing assignment at Children's Hospital of Michigan, and my brother got his travel bonus, his referral bonus. He went on to Seattle, and I thought all was well. You guys, Children's Hospital, Colorado. I can't see the chat, so you guys will have to tell me if anyone works there. It is the Ritz, Ryan Seacrest Studios, 24-hour cafeteria. I mean, private rooms, Xbox in every room. You get breaks, like people give you breaks. It is the Ritz. Working in downtown Detroit on my travel nursing assignment, it was not the Ritz. And I was in for the rudest awakening of my life. So I had been a nurse at this point for 2012, like 4 years. So I had experience. I was not a new nurse. So I had some years under my belt, was not prepared at all for what was coming. So I got to the unit. I don't know if any of you have ever done a travel assignment before, but 3 days of orientation. I get there. I'd worked on the 8th floor at Children's Hospital, Colorado. They mentioned when I interviewed for the travel nurse assignment, they didn't have a manager. And I'm like, okay, that's a little concerning. So I had talked to a director, and she said it's an endocrine floor. I'm like, I can do DKAs in my sleep. That's amazing. This is all perfect. I get there to the floor, my new assignment, Children's Hospital in Michigan. And I'm walking around, and you know how like on a lot of units or different places they'll have jackets like branded for the unit. I'm like looking, and I see like brains, big brains on the back of the jackets. So I asked my preceptor, this guy, Chris, he's amazing. He's worked there forever. I'm like, Chris, why are there brains on the jackets? He's like, oh, this is neurosurgery. I was like, what? It said, I will never forget, little brains are our business. I was like, not my business. This is crazy. Not 1 ounce of experience in neurosurgery. 3 days of orientation, I was thrown to the wolves. And what happened there was I became a very strong nurse very quickly. I'll tell you that. But I ended up meeting the most amazing humans ever. Like my coworkers there were 10 out of 10. So outstanding. So smart, so supportive. I mean, basically it was sink or swim there. So you had to have people that had your back. But they were tired. I was tired. And there was this like hollowness in our eyes. And I was young. I'm like, I'm 31. I've got a lot of years left to work. What is happening here? Like, I cannot keep going on like this. We did not get lunch breaks. There was always so many issues, staffing issues. Like, it was just whatever you're picturing in your mind right now, that's what was happening. And so what I started noticing was everyone was saying, you know, when X, Y, and Z happens, I'll feel better. When I get off nights, I'll feel better. When staffing's better, I'll start to feel better. And I was just like, I don't want to live this way. Because I had been on my own mindset journey, I was just like, I got to go. I was like, I gotta take action. Like, again, what step forward can I take? I'm like, this is great, but you guys, I'm going on a health coaching journey. So I knew I liked helping people feel better. And I was like, I don't think the hospital is where I want to do that. So I actually hired a mentor to help me. I was like, I'm going to blow up my health coaching business. I told you guys I kind of had a blog and had been in health coaching. I was like, I think that's for me. One step forward. My mentor tells me, I don't think you actually want to be a health coach. And I was like, what? This is what I hired you for. But she was really called me out, and she was right. I didn't really want to be a health coach. I kind of already mentioned I don't love science as much. I just really love helping people. That's why I went into nursing. And I know you have to do science too, but it wasn't for the medicine. It was because I love connecting with people, and I love the people. I love my patients. I love the kids I took care of. I love the families I got to work with. I think my friend Jen is on this call. She had to help me with farm. You guys, I told you. And so the next action that I needed to take, my mentor told me that I needed to take a pause. This is one of the hardest things to do. And we're kind of doing it a little bit right now, even in 2020, because so much is canceled, right? And she said, you need to pause and you really need to figure out what's in your heart. So you know what I did? I took her advice and I took the action and I took a giant pause. And this was probably one of the hardest actions I've taken, because I told you guys I'm a hustler. I like to know what's coming next. I like to have a plan. It feels scary to me to pause and be like, what's happening here? So I went to work, and that was about it. I didn't work on any of my side projects. I didn't really plan a lot. I went to yoga. I started riding my bike in the afternoon and just doing things that made me happy. And through this pause, I figured out what was truly in my heart all along. And I started doing little things on my unit to help the nurses I worked with, because that's just what came naturally to me. And because of my own mindset journey and the confidence I had in myself, I was able to say, like, hey, I'm actually not doing okay. Are you doing okay? Let's talk about it. What do you need? And it was really cool, because a couple years ago when I started doing this, people weren't really talking about self-care like they are now. The more that time goes on, the more we are talking about it, which is amazing. No one in Detroit, I can promise you, in my hospital was talking about it. And so I did have to be really vulnerable. And so I decided to take another action. And I decided to host a coffee talk. And basically, I had the idea that we could not have the conversations we needed to have at the hospital. You guys know how it is, it's busy. But I knew the conversations needed to be had. You guys, my phone was blowing up. It was like, are you working tonight? I need to talk to you. It was like therapy hour. Like, it was, everyone had something to say, everyone needed help. And I loved it. I was thriving because I was able to offer them support. I was able to have real conversations. It was amazing. So I was like, we're going to have a coffee talk. No one understands this profession like we do. We can't be looking to our spouses, our roommates who don't get it. You guys know how it is. So I was like, I'm going to host a coffee talk. Next action, put signs up. I posted on my Instagram, we're going to host a coffee talk. And guess what happened? No one came. No one came to my coffee talk. I sat there for 2 hours by myself, and it was so hard. But I told you guys, we can't worry about step 100. We have to worry about step 1 and then step 2. And so I took step 1. I had the coffee talk. I was like, step 2. I took a picture on my phone. Next coffee talk. And ever since that second coffee talk, I have always had people come. And I've been doing this for over 2 years now. We've hosted coffee talks all over the country. Even when I came back to Denver, I hosted one. And I just kept going. And so my same mentor at the time was like obviously so happy and like proud of me for what I was doing. I felt really fulfilled. I never intended that Nurses Inspire Nurses would be a business. I just knew I really loved helping people. I was actually liking work so much better because I wasn't stressed. I was in alignment. I was able to help the nurses there. I thought it was great. I decided to have a party because I was like, nurses need to be celebrated. So I decided I'm going to have this nurse give back night. Only nurses can come. It's going to be epic. I had swag bags. I went around. I got donations. I had wine. I had snacks. I got chair massages. I had the works. Like I was like, this is going to be the best party and only nurses can come. And so for that party, my mentor told me, you need to sell something at the party. And I was like, I'm not trying to sell anything. It's just a party. Basically, it was about only my coworkers. Probably I figured that were going to come because I didn't, know that many people. I just moved back pretty recently. I was like, I'm not trying to sell anything to my coworkers. And she's like, people are like 79% more likely to interact with you or something like that if they buy something from you. I was like, what am I going to sell? So my boyfriend at the time was like, you should just sell a t-shirt. He's like, everyone loves t-shirts. It's pretty cheap. Like it's pretty easy to do. So I was like, okay, that's a good idea. So I'm like, what am I going to put on the t-shirt? And so one of my friends that had a printing company, she actually made t-shirts and had an online shop. I was like, hey, can you like make some t-shirts for me? She's like, sure. What do you want on them? I'm like, I don't know. But I knew at that time that I wanted it to be about nurses helping each other. That if we really helped each other as humans first and nurses second, to just be like, hey, I need a lunch break. Can you watch my patients? Like, hey, I have a really important phone call to make today. Can you watch my patients so I can do that? Like, hey, I want to get coffee. Just all of these little things. I'm like, if we really supported each other, this profession would be different. And so I was like, it's something about nurses helping each other. And she's like, well, what about nurses inspire nurses? She's like, it lines up, it looks good. And I was like, yeah, that's perfect. Guys, I bought 20 t-shirts. I had no idea. I just had her slap nurses inspire nurses on it. At that time, I got so many DMs. My phone was blowing up. I didn't even know you could get that many DMs. I was like, what? People actually like this? They're like, where can I get this shirt? This is so cool. I told you I'm such a hustler. I was like, I'll PayPal invoice you. I didn't even have a website or anything. I was like, I'll PayPal invoice you. So I started selling these t-shirts. And the most exciting thing was just that people to me were resonating with it. So next step, I start looking, I'm like, is Nurses Inspire Nurses taken? It wasn't taken anywhere. The website, the trademark, the Instagram, nothing. There was no hashtag. When I started this, there were 0 hashtags for Nurses Inspire Nurses. Now there's thousands and thousands. But really, it was just one little action and the next action and the next action and the next action. And that's what I really want you guys to see. We have a national movement now. We have sold out events. I have a warehouse. We ship thousands of items a month. It's so exciting. We have a team and so much more, but it's really just taking one action at a time. So what stops us from taking action? Fear of what other people think, fear of failure, not knowing step 100, right? We want to make a move, but we don't know step 100. And something that I always tell my mentees is that you need feedback. And something that if you don't get anything else from this, I hope you remember that there is no failure, only feedback. This is something I tell my brain every single day. There is no failure, there's only feedback. And we can't solve anxiety and worry by thinking about it, right? Because we're all in our heads. Your brain's job, and I know that you guys know this, is to keep you safe. So the same thing that stops us from putting our hand on a hot stove or walking out in front of oncoming traffic is what makes people afraid of public speaking, right? Like there is no physical harm unless, you fall off the stage. I'm waiting for that. That will probably happen to me one day. There's really no physical harm from public speaking, right? But why are people so terrified of it? Emotional harm, right? So it's the same thing. Your brain doesn't know the difference, which is why mindset and also taking action is so important because we must get out of our heads and into our bodies by taking action. So we didn't learn how to start IVs by poking like little square pads in skills lab, right? No, we didn't learn how to drive cars by sitting in driver's ed. What did you have to do? You had to take the step of getting in the car, getting on the highway for the first time, like, right? Like we all remember that. Like I think I was like, I'm good. I'm just not gonna drive. But we had to take that action. We had to take that next step. So there is no failure. There is only feedback. And if we can focus on feedback and not failure, I promise we will be successful. So how do we do that? How do we choose our perspective when we have negative thoughts, when we have all of these things in the world right now that are sad and hard? It doesn't matter all the things that we have to be thankful for, even our health. This is a hard time. And it's very hard to choose our perspective. It's hard to take action sometimes. It's hard to move forward. So how do we do that? So this is the analogy that I use, which is so amazing because you guys are already in Colorado, so you can picture it so beautifully. Where I am at in Michigan, we do not have beautiful mountains to look at. But when I would drive to the hospital, I lived at, I kind of mentioned Broadway and Alameda. So I get on I-25 driving north and then usually take 70. There's always construction, you're sitting in traffic, whatever, to the hospital. And I would always think about driving north on I-25. And I think the mountains always hit me differently because I'm not from Colorado. I will never forget the first time I went skiing. Like, I was in such awe. And even sitting in my car, I would sometimes just be like, wow, I live here. And so if you're driving north on I-25, what happens if you look left to the west? You see mountains and it's beautiful. And I will never take a day of sunshine for granted because it is not that way in Michigan. But you know how it is in Colorado. There's 300 days of sunshine a year and it's beautiful. And you look to the left and you look to the west and it's magnificent. And then where I would get off my exit, sometimes I would look to the right. You may see downtown, or you would see super industrial areas. And it just like always wasn't that pretty to look at, right? So I would look to the right in the east and I'm just like, I'm gonna look to the west. Same car, same person, same highway, same situation. It just depends on which way you turn your head, right? This is what we have a choice to make right now. There is a west and there is an east. There, we can turn our head one way and see all the things we have to be grateful for, all the things that are working, or we can look the other direction and see everything that's not. And I would really encourage you guys to screenshot this, to jot it down on a piece of paper, and do some thinking about this tonight, tomorrow morning, whenever you have some time. And on the west side, think about the beautiful mountains. Think about everything that you have to be grateful for. What brings you joy? What makes you excited? Your brain is actively looking for the answers to the questions you ask it. It's going to answer you. So if you ask questions like, what makes me happy? What do I have to be thankful for? What can I be excited about? It's your reticular activating system. You will activate it and you will find that. What we focus on, we find. So we have a choice to look to the west or the other side. Maybe there's some railroad tracks, some dirt on the ground. What are those things that actually bring us down? And I would really encourage you to list these things as well, because when we list them and name them and keep them there, we know that we can call ourselves out. Like, hey, I'm doing that thing again where I'm focused on everything that's out of my control, whatever that is for you. And that's going to bring my energy down. That's going to not make me feel good. So name them there so that when you start focusing on them, you can call yourself out, right? Because probably no one's going to do it for us. So what are those, what's your east? What are those things that bring you down? But more importantly, what is your west? Where is your joy? What can I take action on? Where can I move forward? What's making me excited? And how can I focus on that? Now, we know because of neuroplasticity that we can change the way our neurons fire, that the more you may be a person that's like, I'm just kind of generally a more negative person. Like I kind of mentioned, you guys, I'm optimistic to a fault. Like it can also not be a good thing. We are going to have a natural tendency, but what I know to be true is that we can change the way we think and we can choose our perspective. The good news and the bad news, it doesn't just happen overnight. This is a daily journey, and maybe it's a minute by minute journey because there's so much craziness going on in our world right now, or maybe even for you personally. So it's a daily choice. But guess what happens the more we focus on it and the more we look at what's going right, the more we take action and move forward, the more we choose gratitude, we will find more of that in our life. And I'm talking simple things right now. For me, right now, it's that I do have a team and I do have employees. I don't work alone. My dog always brings me so much joy. I love coffee. I love really nice coffee. So I get expensive, nice coffee that makes me happy every single morning. Really, really basic things. But the more that I'm like, man, my coffee tastes really great. I'm like, wow, my Christmas tree looks so pretty. And I'm so thankful that I have a tree. I'm so thankful for my home. And that will just perpetuate. And then we can take action and move forward from a place of gratitude and focused on what's positive and not taking action from a place of lack or fear, because that is always there too. Pandemic or not, we know that there's always something to be fearful for. This is one of my absolute favorite quotes of all time. Inaction breeds doubt and fear. Action breeds confidence and courage. If you want to conquer fear, do not sit at home and think about it. I want you to go out and get busy. And if I can leave you with anything, it is that action does breed confidence and courage. It will breed clarity, and you will never be sorry for taking action. And I hope that you can see that in my story. I hope you feel that from your own personal journey. And we have so much to reflect on and be proud of. Again, that's on the West, focusing on all we have to be proud of and to be thankful for. So that's a little bit about my story. I put my Instagram here. I would love to connect with you guys. I answer all of my DMs. So if you have any questions or anything that comes up, if you do actually do this exercise and need help or need further clarity, I'm always available. So I love connecting. So reach out. Okay, I want to make sure that I can answer any questions that you guys have, whether it's related to business, nursing, taking action, whatever you guys want to know. So we'll leave it open for whatever.
I'm looking, yeah, everybody go ahead and put your questions in. We'll give it just a couple more minutes and we'll look for questions for Kat. Thank you, Kat. I think that was just very timely right now for everybody.
Guys, sorry, I'm slacking. I'm slacking on the slides. Okay, got it. Yeah, let me know.
So Kat, I have a question for you. Yeah. What would you suggest to nurses thinking about switching specialties?
I would say if you're already asking the question that you want to do it, so you should just try. One of the things that I always try to think about is I believe that we would not have the desires we have in our heart for them not to be met. And I think it's so easy to not trust ourselves or be like, it's going to be hard, or what if it doesn't work out? Our brain's going to come in with all those questions, but we all have the desires we have in our heart for a reason. So if you're having that desire or that inclination, I would say investigate. Take the first step. What would be a step one? Maybe talk to someone in that specialty. Can you job shadow? Can you find out more information? As you take that action, clarity will come. You'll be like really excited and want to keep going down that path, or you'll be like, that freaks me out. It's not for me. So even I kind of mentioned like becoming a CNA. I was like, can I even do this? I don't know. I'm just going to become a CNA. I volunteered at, in the surgical ICU. I was telling the ladies on our other call, I hated the ICU. I was like hiding in the linen cart. I'm not kidding you. Like I would pull the thing over my head. Like I couldn't look. I knew that was not for me. That's okay. I just took the action and I figured that out. I would have never known that had I not been in the environment. No failure, only feedback. If you have that inclination, I would say it's because you have a desire. So just trust it.
Kat, from your coffee talks, are there any tips about how nurses avoid burnout?
Yeah, I think so many. And I want to mention that we have on our nursesinspirenurses.com, if you click resources at the top, we have tons of free resources that we've put up. So that's a great place. Just if you need tangible resources, we have a lot. But I would say the number one thing is that we have to look inward and not outward. And it's very easy, especially with social media and just whatever, to see what everyone else is doing. And what works for me to help me avoid burnout and be happy with myself is going to be different from Marnie, we're all individuals. And so we have to take care of ourselves as humans first. What makes Kat happy? I love working out. I love reading. I love connecting with people. I'm a very social person. So if I'm not doing things that bring me joy, how am I going to function in a high stress environment? It's not going to be good. But also, if I'm looking at what everyone else is doing and trying to do that, that's also probably not going to make me feel good. So I think it's really an internal thing and taking time to figure that out. We might not even know that. But I think taking time to figure that out. And then the second thing I would say, and this applies to everybody, our brains are wild and we have to process everything we consume. So, what are we doing all day long, every single day? Consuming at work, emails. You're consuming right now, which I appreciate, but you have to take time to process that. Then we get home and we're scrolling on our phones and on social media, and we're just consuming. Your brain has to process that. So then if you go to work the next day and you've never taken any time to process whatever that looks like for you, and you're just adding that on, that's going to lead to burnout. So you have to have downtime to process.
Kat, I have a question here for you. Have you found a new love relationship to commit to? Career is one thing, lifelong partner is another.
100%. And I have not. I feel like it's so interesting. I was in an amazing relationship with someone since I moved back here, and we're still actually great friends, but it just was not meant to be. But I have not spent time on that. And that is my hope for 2021 is more time for Kat. And I'm really transparent about that. I have worked very, very, very hard the last 2.5 years. Very, very hard. And so more space in 2021.
Well, I think that is the end of the questions, Kat. Thank you for being so open and honest with everybody. So everybody who has come tonight, thank you for all your time this evening. Stay tuned for information regarding future happy and healthy hours, which will kick off again in February 2021. Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram. Check out our stories on fellow alumni at our newly launched CU Anschutz LinkedIn group focused on professional development. Thank you so much for turning in and for all you do for healthcare professionals for your campus and community. Good night, everybody.